we are make a really great team, I think. So we are here tonight to talk about redistricting. This is our first public workshop, so I'm just going to get right to it. So, on to the next slide. So why is redistricting important? So it's important because we want to make sure that there are approximately the same amount of people in each district. And every 10 years, we do the census and we take a look at those numbers and we can recognize whether or not certain districts are lopsided. And right now we are, because of new development. This is not new news. I'm sure you've all read or heard about that. The new developments in certain areas increase the population in those areas, and then districts become unbalanced. The other reason it's really important is we want to make sure that we're not harming those voters that are based on, race or ethnicity. So you want to avoid cracking and packing. And if you've never heard of that before, cracking and packing are vernacular used in the redistricting world. When it comes to minority groups, you want to make sure that you're not splitting them up so that they're no longer in one district, but you also don't want to pack them so you're purposefully putting them all in one district. So a little bit of that is also called gerrymandering. You want to make sure you're not drawing the lines on purpose for the wrong reasons. It's really supposed to be focused on population, and so that everybody has a chance to vote for their so-called representative in their district. So the timeline, we talked a little bit about this previously, but I'll go through it in more detail now. So on November 2nd, we had our first public hearing, and that was really very preliminary. It was a summary of the redistricting law and the process. We had our demographer there. His name is Andrew Westfall. He's with Baird Demographics and Research. And then we have today's public workshop. And today I'm here to accept any draft maps that you may have, and certainly want to hear any input you have about your district and what you would like to see together as a community of interest, and things you wouldn't want taken out of your district. Then we move on to January 4th, right after the holidays. We'll have a public hearing, and we'll present a draft map to the council. And that draft map will be based on the feedback we received from you today, and it will also be based on any feedback that we received via email or any other draft maps that we've received through the website. And then after that, we'll hold another public workshop like we're holding tonight. That workshop will be at the El Toro Library down in District 1. We'll accept additional feedback on any and all draft maps that we have. And we'll take that feedback and we'll go back to the City Council, and we'll have another public hearing, and we'll take a look at, hopefully by then we'll have just one map that we can present to the council. That's the plan. So it's called a pre-final map. And we present that to the City Council. Hopefully they'll adopt it. If they don't, we have a little bit more time and we can go back to the drawing board and change those things that they want to see. And then the final map would be considered on March 15th. Unless, of course, they want us to go back to the drawing board. That second reading won't happen on March 15th. We would have a first reading of the final map and then have a second reading after March 15th. So this is the best calendar we can do for right now. Just keep in mind that that last date could change just depending on how the council votes on the 15th. Okay?
And April is the deadline.
April 17th. So we have a cushion of 2 more meetings after March 15th to wrap it up. And you really only have to have the first reading of the map by the 17th. The second reading that's necessary can happen after the 17th as long as that first reading takes place. So we do have time. We have a nice cushion.
So it looks like the February 15th meeting might be an important one to attack.
Yes, I would. That's really the final, what we're presenting to the council as our final. Okay.
See that one, see that? We understand. Yeah.
Okay. So, and we will be live too. If you're saying you can't be there, but if you have,
I'll see then, what will be like, the public hearing will be like?
it'll be, yes.
And we'll know before the 15th what the map is that the city's.
Absolutely.
So we can do comments
Yes.
for that meeting.
Yes.
Okay, good.
So, Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, the map has to be posted a number of days prior to the meeting. So for instance, the map that we're going to show the council on January 4th has to be posted on our webpage by the 27th of December.
Oh,
Okay? So that's, I believe, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And so we'll do the same for the final map prior to the 15th.
Right.
That map will be posted in order to get plenty of feedback prior to the adoption.
Okay. We did that.
So what are the legal criteria for redistricting? So the equal population principle, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. We talked about that a little bit. So in Lake Forest, based on the census data, we want to stay around 17,000 in each district. So keep that as your number that you want to achieve when you are using the district builder software. Now you can have a 10% increase or decrease in that number across all districts. Has to be within 10% though of the 17,000. Okay. And then the U.S. Constitution Equal Protection Clause. That's part of the 14th Amendment, and it basically says no state shall deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protections of the law. Then we have the Voting Rights Act of 1965. That's part of the 15th Amendment, which outlaws any discriminatory voting practices. And then we have the traditional redistricting criteria, which we're going through right now. This process is another law that is part of the legal criteria. So the traditional redistricting criteria, so contiguity. You want to make sure that your districts are contiguous, and that may sound self-explanatory, but we have been known to hear about certain cities that want their districts to be actually broken up into 2 pieces. You can't do that. It has to be one piece. Okay. Oh, did we lose some dark? Oh. Have a brief recess. No. Yeah. I wonder if I hit something on this. I don't think it is. Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay. So moving on to compactness. So districts should be geographically compact, so no gerrymandering. So that means if you have a district that kind of looks like a rectangle, and then all of a sudden you want to add this piece, that appears to be gerrymandering. You want to try to avoid that at all costs. And then existing boundaries. So it's always effective to have boundaries that follow natural or even artificial boundaries like freeways, rivers, streets, rail lines, that kind of thing. Communities of interest. Now this is probably one thing that I think the public is most interested in. And a good example of this is right here in Foothill Ranch, you have Town Center Drive that kind of goes right in the middle of Foothill Town Center. You would never want a boundary to go right there because you're splitting up the town center, right? You want that, that's a community of interest. That's where you want everything to be in one district, that area. Okay. Let me try to connect again.
Is it typical to try and keep, like, for instance, a school, like a grammar school, make sure that that grammar school, the whole school is in one district?
Yeah, it can be, if it makes sense, you know.
The residents that feed into that school.
Mhm.
will be in one district.
Certainly. Okay, maybe it's the remote, Jennifer. Can I just say next slide, you can click it?
It's actually not written on the computer.
I don't know. Oh. Okay. So this is our Lake Forest map. I know you're probably all very familiar with it. I brought extra copies just in case you wanted to take one home with you tonight to kind of study some of the lines. But I wanted to make sure that we included this in part of the presentation. Okay, next slide. Let's do this. Okay, so how can the public provide input? And that's a little bit about what we were talking about earlier. So these meetings, of course, are very helpful to get in-person comments. And Jennifer's here to take down any notes and feedback that you might provide us. So attend a public hearing or workshop. Submit a public comment form. We have the comment forms with us, so if you'd like to take some home with you, they're also available on our website. You can share them with your neighbors. If there's any comments, we'll take those. You can use the online mapping tool, which I'm happy to show you tonight. If you're interested in a short demo, we can do that. And then also, using that tool, you could submit your own draft map. And you would submit it to redistricting@lakeforestca.gov. We developed a special email address just for that, so that all emails will go into that one space and we know where to find them, anything that has to do with redistricting. Next slide. Okay, so this is, I just did a screenshot of our redistricting webpage so that you could see a little bit about what it's going to look like when you get to that. So at the top, you're going to find a lot of the documents I just talked about. They're available in Spanish. And then you're going to see the timeline. So next slide. So if you were to scroll down on the website, you'd start to see the process timeline, the different events that are taking place, and the times and the locations. Next slide. And I wanted to talk a little bit about what kind of public input we are seeking. So again, what streets and boundaries and points of interest define your community? And you would know that best, so that's what we want to hear from you. Does your community have major geographical boundaries? Like you just mentioned, the school. You're already way ahead of me, Andrea. I think you could run this whole thing without me. So schools, hospitals, any other parks, any other points of interest that you want to keep, that you believe belong in your neighborhood. We want to hear from you about that. And then what are your shared interests? Go ahead.
HOAs.
HOAs? Yeah, we would never, I don't think we would ever split up an HOA because that's a neighborhood. You know, it wouldn't make sense to draw a line.
Lake Forest too is split.
Oh, is it split? Okay,
Yes,
well,
Salem is split.
oh, you know what, you're right about that.
Yes.
That's a really good point.
Tedder,
And,
Nikki, and also I think it has, Mason and Jude.
okay, well, interesting. Maybe that one was just too big, it probably had too much population to put all in one with everything else. So, I think that's something we try to avoid as best we can. It probably just wasn't avoidable last time. So, okay, next slide, please. Okay, so we're asking you to share your ideas and submit a map. So if you were to scroll down even further, all the way down to the end of the web page, the redistricting web page, you're going to see that red link right there, and that's what you're going to click on to go to what's called District Builder. And that's a special software that we got through our demographer in order to create maps. And so this is what it looks like now. What they'll ask you to do is set up a user ID and password, which is just, you can make that up yourself. It just takes 1 minute. And then once you get to District Builder, you're going to see 2 templates down at the bottom. One is a blank map where you can literally draw your own district boundaries and what you want it to look like. The second one is the current council districts. So you're going to see this. And then you can drag these boundaries around if you're more comfortable with that. And you can save as many drafts as you want in your account on District Builder. They'll be there for you when you come back to work on it some more. That's what's really nice about it. You don't even have to download it necessarily if you don't want to, because it'll save in your account at District Builder. And once you have it the way you want it, then you can download it and email it over to us. But you don't have to finish it right then and there. You can come back to it, which is nice.
If you download it, you email it to you.
Yeah, you can download it and then email it, exactly.
Can I ask now, or are you going to cover this later about as you create your lines on the blank map, it will show the demographics on the right as they change?
It should. I haven't actually used the blank one yet. I've only used the current one, but we can look at that today while we're all here, let's do it.
Population.
Yeah, actually, it does. It shows it up in the top right-hand corner, and it's divided up by district. So as you drag those lines, it'll
Right.
tell you how many are in which one. And then
Just numbers, nothing else?
there is some other data there, but I think the majority of the data is just numbers. But we can take a look at it. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so just a quick timeline reminder. So this is literally the same slide from earlier tonight. I just added a checkbox at the top to show you where we are in the schedule. So we'll be moving on from this to January 4th, and you can go to the next slide. Okay. So why is it so important to protect communities of interest? I wanted to kind of focus on that a little bit. It's really important that we keep housing together, like you just mentioned, neighborhoods, any kind of common cultural areas, language speaking areas, public services, points of interest. So again, you know what those points are in your neighborhoods, and that's what we want to hear about, is so that we don't draw a line in the middle of a neighborhood, in the middle of that splits a neighborhood between a park and another neighborhood, etc. Okay, the next one. And then I just want to remind you that your voice matters. Even if you can't come to the next meeting, just email me, email Jennifer. We'll make sure that your feedback gets included and is part of the draft maps that we bring forward, okay? And then if you have time, if you'd like, we can move on to District Builder and kind of play with that a little bit. Want to do that? Okay. See, I have it bookmarked on my computer, so I have to look it up. Or actually, we just go to the website.
Is it required that you also have this in Spanish?
Only if it's requested.
Only if it's like the community process?
Exactly. If they request it, then we'll have a translator here. But we didn't receive any calls.
No, but I said, you said on the website,
Oh, yes, the documents that I showed you, the hard paper
use
copies,
the documents.
those all have to be available in
Is that
Spanish.
a requirement?
It depends on, every city's different, but according to our census data, because we have a high Spanish-speaking population, we had to convert our documents into Spanish. But every city's different, so.
Force does everything. What?
I don't know if it makes sense. I don't know if there's any Spanish speaking people there.
In the meetings?
No, understand.
Oh, they do have a concentration by the college of Hispanic people. I told them that, because that is a concentrated area. They could, create a district.
Okay, Jonathan, here. Jonathan, where did you put our redistricting page? It's under city clerk or city council?
You know, I just go to the main thing there and search for redistricting on the homepage.
Oh, okay. Right here?
Yeah.
There it is. Right. Okay, so I'm gonna slow slowly, so you scroll slowly so you can see it for yourself. So again, these documents at the top, these are the forms that I already showed you earlier. They're also available in Spanish. And then again, this is the identical calendar that we just talked about. And then I'm going to click on this red link. And it does take you to a different website, so that's okay. And this is what you should see. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and log in using my data. You can see I've been playing with it a lot lately. So this is what I was saying when, like, every time you play with it, it'll save it as a new one.
So from this page,
Mm-hmm.
did you click on the one on the left or right to sign in?
I clicked over here.
Where?
See where the LB is?
Oh, you clicked it there.
Yeah, except it didn't say LB before. Those are my initials. Before it said log in.
Right.
So
that's
it's gonna-
where you're gonna sign in.
Yeah, so you just have to prompt to
I'm a really visual person.
Yeah, no, it's all a learning curve.
Top right, okay.
Yep, top right, and create a user ID.
Okay.
So we're gonna have to create a login for this.
Right.
Yeah, let me go back. I probably, maybe I did that too fast. Let me see if it will let me just log out and I'm just gonna do that. And go back.
There, we go up there and create your.
Yeah, but I'm gonna log out so that you can see it for yourself, and then I'll log back in. Okay, so see up here where it says log in or register?
Right.
You're gonna wanna click on register,
Register.
and it's literally just gonna ask you for your name and email and password.
Right.
Now, I'm just gonna go ahead and log in.
Can we move up to the table so we can see better?
Certainly.
See what? If you see better with all my glasses. But then just.
Well, that's not a good sign.
That's better, that's better. Thank you.
All right, okay, good. Okay. So I'm gonna go, so because I have an account, it automatically goes to my saved documents.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna go over here to,
So you made some maps, Lisa?
I just was playing with the software to see how it worked, yeah. They don't mean anything, they're just sort of me playing around. I figured someone's gonna know how to use it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what I've done, is gone over here. We'll do both, but let's do this one first.
To the current one.
So this one's gonna bring up, like I said, all the current district boundaries.
Right.
So here we are, right here in the green section, Foothill Ranch.
Right.
And over here on the left, you'll see the first column is the current population. The next is what's called the deviation, so the difference between, and then the percentage. And, oh, and there is a column for race if you want to click
What
on
is the
that.
percentage of? Percentage of what?
This is of compactness. Compactness, it's a hard word to say sometimes. So over here, so let's just say I wanted to move Foothill Ranch and add like these little sections, so it's a nice clean area.
One of those apartments are in the third floor.
Yeah, so. I'm gonna click accept. There it is. So I just highlighted those. Yep, so I highlighted that little area right up here,
And then you click accept.
and then I clicked accept, exactly. So now that's a saved map. And you can keep working on it, and it'll just keep saving your changes. Yep.
Where is it?
Oh, it is, well, I have to, here, let me click another section.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna click that, and it's right up here.
Oh, okay, got it.
It disappeared.
Yeah, once you accept it, then it's going to, goes away.
So then now we
Now we have 20,000 people there.
Right, yeah, so that's what's neat about it, is you can see in real time what the change would be
Okay.
in this column.
And that's 3,300 over, which is a little